Cake feels different when it slides across your skin like a cold accusation, in case you've never had the pleasure. Buttercream lodges in laugh lines, strawberry filling sticks to eyelashes, and the silence that follows when every guest decides whether to gasp, laugh, or pretend nothing happened clothespins your lungs shut. If you're tuning in from Boston, Houston, or some cozy town I've never heard of, type your city down below and tell me your most embarrassing party moment. Trust me. By the end of this tale, my mishap will make yours look like spilled punch. Because when my darling husband Malcolm flattened that 3-layer black forest into my face, he didn't just ruin the dessert. He detonated the reputation I'd tended for 43 faithful years. Picture it. Friday night, Hemphill Street, Memphis. Malcolm's fraternity buddy turned 50 and decided we needed a throwback bash. Vinyl records, disco mirror ball, even those tacky Jell-O shots nobody over 60 should chase. I, Odessa Grace Holloway, wore my plum silk dress, the one with the flutter sleeves Clarence bought me for the church gala before he passed. I'd remarried Malcolm last winter, hoping company would soften widowhood's winter. Company, it turned out, sometimes freezes harder than solitude. The joke that triggered it wasn't even mine. Someone teased Malcolm about his new dad bod, and I quipped, "Well, at least the keg's tapped. It lives right under his t-shirt." I meant it playful, the way married folks poke fun to prove affection's thickness. Laughter rippled. Malcolm's smile stiffened. 5 minutes later, the birthday boy called for cake photos. That's when my husband lifted the serving knife, winked, and, I swear the room slowed, dragged that confection right off the platter and smashed it across my nose. Gasps burst like popcorn. Strawberry syrup trickled down my chin, sweeter than the humiliation searing my cheeks. Malcolm roared with laughter. Our grown twins, Riley and Dawn, echoed him. Hands over mouths but eyes bright. "Oh, Dad," Dawn cackled. "Mom finally got frosting to match her lipstick." And the guests? Some recorded on phones. Others hid behind plastic cups, all complicit in their silence. I excused myself, tottering to the powder room, cake crumbs dripping onto hardwood like grisly breadcrumbs. In the mirror, I saw a clown's mask melting. Purple dress splattered pink, mascara spidering down. My heartbeat pounded. You are a dignified woman, Odessa. Dignity, though, felt slippery beneath buttercream. I wiped, dabbed again, nothing but streaks. And behind the door, Malcolm's laughter kept booming. That sound hurt more than the sugar burn in my eyes. Maybe you think I stormed out right then, but a lifetime of hostess training glued me to the script. Straighten spine, reapply smile, smooth ruffled feathers so guests stay comfy. Well, I smoothed enough to sing happy birthday like the good woman they expected. Malcolm draped an arm over my shoulders, squeezing icing into the silk. "No hard feelings, babe," he slurred. Wine had turned his apology lazy. I toasted the birthday boy with punch so sweet it masked bile. Yet humiliation, friends, is a seed. Under the right heat, say, righteous anger, it sprouts into resolve. At 2 a.m., Malcolm snored in the passenger seat while Dawn drove us home. Riley followed in his truck. Between snores, Malcolm muttered, "You shouldn't dish what you can't take." Dawn giggled. Something inside me, call it the Holy Spirit or a fed-up grandmother, clicked into place. I resolved, this would be the last time anyone laughed at me with icing on their breath. Next morning, I rose before Memphis's cicadas tuned up. I brewed chicory, opened my gratitude journal, and instead of listing blessings, I listed weapons. Recipes Malcolm craved, secrets Dawn blabbed after wine, tax receipts Riley filed late. I wasn't plotting harm, I was plotting respect. A line from Proverbs whispered, "A good name is more desirable than great riches." They'd taken my name's shine. I intended to polish it until folks needed sunglasses. First, I paged through my late first husband Clarence's ledger. He left me stake in New Hope Baptist Scholarship Fund plus voting power on the board. The annual gala, media, donors, cameras, was 3 weeks out. Malcolm planned to MC. Perfect stage. Second, I called my sorority sister Laverne, now editor at the Tri-State Herald. Ever cover public shaming turned righteous comeback? I asked. Laverne cackled. Girl, send me time and place. The city loves a clapback queen. Step 3, household theater. Malcolm bragged about hosting a pre-gala dinner rehearsal. Big barbecue, family, neighbors. I'd let him host, then serve a dish so poetic, even Shakespeare would applaud. But revenge tastes better with community seasoning, and you'll see how my neighbors drizzled sass on the main course. Friends, if you've ever swallowed humiliation until it curdled in your gut, grab my hand. We're about to churn that sour into butter. Drop a comment with the worst joke anyone's cracked at your expense and how you wish you'd answered. And keep ringing that subscribe bell because in the next part, Malcolm discovers the frosting wasn't the only sweet thing that could blow up in his face. I guarantee this comeback recipe will rise higher than any cake ever dared. Sunday sunrise found me in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, stirring memories into a cast iron skillet. Most folks season revenge with chili powder or spite. I seasoned mine with legacy. As butter hissed and browned, I reread Clarence's ledger, letting numbers speak louder than Malcolm's laughter had. The scholarship gala would stream live on the church's Facebook page. Local news would send a camera, and Malcolm, oh Malcolm, would stand at the lectern believing every eye admired him, and every microphone waited only for his jokes. He had no idea the script was about to change, but before a public reckoning, I needed a private rehearsal. Our twins still carried Malcolm's echo in their throats. I had to loosen its grip. So I invited Riley and Dawn for tea. No husbands, no partners, just mother and adult children beneath the magnolia on my back porch. I poured jasmine into heirloom china, let steam curl like question marks, and asked the simplest one, "Why did you laugh?" Riley's cheeks flushed the color of brick dust. "Mom, it was a party. Everyone was buzzed. We thought you were in on the gag." Dawn traced the cup's rim. "Dad said you two prank each other all the time." I held their gaze until Dawn's voice broke. "We didn't mean to hurt you, Mama." Hurt me? Hurt is a bruise. Humiliation is a tattoo. I took a breath laced with gardenia and grace. Children, joking stops where dignity begins. You fed a bonfire of disrespect and flames travel. I slid 2 envelopes across the table, photocopies of Whitmore's forged deeds, the ones that almost stole my home months ago. I've lived through betrayal dressed as humor before. I will not wear that costume again. A pause. Heavy as August heat settled, Riley swallowed. "What do you want us to do?" The question was knitting needle and thread all at once. "Listen," I said, "and choose what kind of laugh you lend your life to, one that lifts or one that shreds." I opened the second phase of my plan that afternoon. Laverne from the Tri-State Herald met me at New Hope Baptist Fellowship Hall. Recorder ready. I laid out the storyline. A respected mother smeared, literally, by the man meant to honor her. A comeback timed for maximum illumination. A scholarship gala that would turn into a masterclass on self-respect. Laverne's eyebrows jumped like popcorn kernels. Odessa, this is going to trend before the benediction. Good. I wanted Malcolm scrolling through an ocean of sympathy posts for me while he practiced punchlines about himself. That evening, neighbor committees buzzed like cicadas. Alea volunteered to live stream the gala from 3 angles. Mr. Perry agreed to usher media past the velvet rope. Jasper, sweet tech-savvy Jasper, offered to sync Malcolm's teleprompter tablet with a surprise alternate speech I had drafted, a speech praising humility, fidelity, and the quick end of cruel humor. If Malcolm refused to read it, the screen would freeze on the photo of my frosting plastered face. Public opinion is a stern teacher. I intended to let her lecture. Preparations thrummed for days. Malcolm, oblivious, strutted through the house practicing jokes about aging knees and memory lapses, never realizing his own punchline grew nearer each rehearsal. Sometimes he'd pat my waist, say, "Still sweet on me, sugar." I'd smile, sweeter than sorghum, and ask which tie matched his ego. He chose royal blue. Perfect, blue pops under stage lights and on camera. On the morning of the gala, I visited Clarence's grave, laid a single magnolia bloom and whispered, "Watch tonight, I'll restore the Holloway honor." As I turned to leave, thunder rumbled low. Memphis afternoon storms love dramatic timing. I tucked my umbrella under my arm, ready for whatever clouds or critics rolled in. Back home, I dressed in emerald silk, green for growth, for the envy I hoped Malcolm would feel when the crowd cheered. Not his wit, but my resilience. Dawn helped clasp my grandmother's pearl necklace. Riley adjusted the lint on my hem. Their earlier embarrassment had ripened into protective resolve. I could feel it in the gentle way they handled the dress, as if guarding a flag before battle. At 6:30, the fellowship hall pulsed with chatter. Neon banners for the scholarship fund draped like promises across the stage. Malcolm paced backstage, tablet in hand, ego primed. He winked at me, unaware that Jasper's thumb hovered over the sync button from the sound booth. Laverne stood front row, notebook poised, her photographer snapping B-roll of the cake donated for the gala. 3 layers, black forest, and intentional echo. Symbolism can be delicious. The house lights dimmed. Malcolm strode to the lectern, blue tie gleaming. Microphones hummed awake. Live stream ticker climbing. 200, 400, 800 viewers. He tapped the tablet. The first slide appeared, my rewritten speech. For a heartbeat, confusion puckered his brow. Then he smirked, thinking it a glitch, and tapped again. The tablet froze, replaced by the infamous photo, buttercream dripping from my chin, eyes wide in shocked betrayal. A collective inhale sucked the humidity from the room. Before Malcolm could manufacture charm, I rose from my seat, cane steady, and mounted the stage. He stepped back, stupefied as I faced the audience. "Good evening," I began, voice calm as Sunday prayer. "Tonight we fund futures, but first we must address dignity." Malcolm's mouth opened. No words escaped. I felt hundreds of eyes, some tearful, some widened in awe, fix on us. But this was not revenge, it was resurrection. I told the room what humor is and what cruelty masquerading as humor does. I told them a good name outweighs gold, and public laughter at private pain bankrupts the soul. Applause swelled like storm wind. Malcolm, cornered by truth and cameras, whispered, "Odessa, please." I handed him the mic. "Your turn," I said. Whether he would repent or double down, even I didn't know. Keep that bell ringing. Redemption's crucible is heating, and someone's mask is about to melt for good. For a heartbeat, the sanctuary seemed to hold its breath, every fluorescent bulb dimming under the weight of what might come out of Malcolm's mouth. He gripped the microphone hard enough to blanch his knuckles, eyes flicking between me, the frozen photo on the screen, and the silent sea of church members, donors who had long equated the Holloway Henderson name with polished manners and righteous charity. I felt my pulse in my teeth, but I kept my shoulders squared. Emerald silk catching the stage lights like armor. Malcolm cleared his throat. The mic amplified the rasp into something ragged. Folks, that picture up there was supposed to be a joke. A brittle laugh escaped him, one solitary clap of false thunder. No one joined in. Even the air conditioning unit seemed to mute itself as if refusing to collude. He licked dry lips. I thought we were just having fun, but I see now I failed my wife, I failed my children, and I failed this community because a man who can't honor the partner God gave him has no business standing on a platform that honors anyone else. His voice cracked on the last syllable, a fracture echoing off cinder block walls. Dawn squeezed Riley's hand in the front pew. They were still uncertain whether to applaud or brace for impact. Malcolm turned to me, eyes glassy, pride kneeling at last. Odessa, you deserved better. I'm sorry. Not the mumbled sorry of a man caught, but the shaky exhale of a man surrendering. I watched the apology ripple across his shoulders. Arrogance slid off like spoiled frosting. Still, an apology is only a seed. It must be planted, watered, and tended under the glaring sun of accountability. I lifted the second mic Jasper had left ready on the lectern. One click, and my voice poured into the hush. Thank you, Malcolm. I did not smile. Some moments require plain sincerity more than softness. You may begin watering that seed tonight. I gestured toward the scholarship donation paddles arranged on a side table, little wooden cakes iced with glitter numbers. For every $1 you pledge, I'll match it from Clarence's legacy fund. Let your remorse fund someone else's rise. A murmur swept the pews, hopeful as spring wind. Malcolm nodded, then turned to the audience. I'm pledging $5,000. Laverne's photographer captured the moment his blue tie fluttered like a flag of truce. Applause finally cracked the tension, first cautious, then roaring. The live stream chat exploded. This is real accountability. She turned humiliation into hope. Yes, ma'am. I stepped back, signaling Jasper in the booth. The frozen photo dissolved into a slideshow of scholarship recipients. Bright faces that now framed Malcolm instead of my frosting-smeared humiliation. He inhaled, straightened his shoulders, and read the speech I had written. Lines praising humility, the courage to correct mistakes, the imperative to honor women publicly and privately. Each sentence landed like a rung on a ladder he would climb for the rest of his life. By the benediction, donations had doubled last year's record. Guests flooded the fellowship hall, pressing my hands, promising pies, quoting my line about dignity and laughter. Some whispered their own stories of public shame and private tears. I noted each confession. These seeds, too, would require tending. Outside, thunder finally broke Memphis sky, flinging warm rain that smelled of cut grass and redemption. Malcolm offered his coat. I declined. Storms wash souls best when you feel every drop. Dawn fetched the car. Riley loaded leftover cake, untouched, into the trunk like hazardous material. Media lights strobed the parking lot. Laverne's headline would read, "From frosting to fundraising, how one grandma flipped the script on public humiliation." At home, the twins brewed chamomile while Malcolm changed into sweatpants that sagged less arrogantly. He set 2 plates on the table, each bearing a thin slice of the gala cake. "Peace offering?" he asked. I raised an eyebrow. "Symbolic only," he amended, scraping frosting aside. We ate silent forkfuls of sponge, a sweetness I allowed to rest on my tongue without swallowing pride alongside it. Later, I opened my gratitude journal. Grateful today for. Apology offered in front of witnesses. Scholarship total, 94,037. Rain that smoothed the edges of anger. Children choosing respect over laughter. Yet another entry waited, unfinished business. Because a viral article attracts more than praise, it lures trolls, skeptics, and sometimes ghosts from earlier humiliations. Already comments appeared from a Sugar King 73 mocking my grandstanding. Malcolm frowned at the username. It was one he used on poker forums years ago. Old sins sometimes echo louder than new apologies. I stared at the screen, a new resolve settling. This wasn't only about a cake and a gala, it was about every woman laughed at, every elder dismissed, every apology left unpaid. If Malcolm truly meant to water that seed, then the soil of our household needed drastic tilling. No secrets, no side accounts, no anonymous usernames dripping contempt. Tomorrow we would dig. And you, dear friends still watching, tell me in the comments, what secret soil must you turn so new respect can grow? Hit subscribe so you don't miss the moment an online troll is unmasked at Sunday service. A reveal so unexpected the choir will miss its cue. Light your lantern. The deeper we dig, the brighter truth gleams. Monday dawn draped gauzy gold across the kitchen, but the glow couldn't soften the dull throb behind my eyes. Sugar King 73 still ping-ponged around my brain. I'd spent half the night replaying Malcolm's poker tales, late-night bluffs, nameless avatars bragging about easy marks. When he shuffled in, rubbing sleep from guilt-soaked eyelids, I poured chicory without asking if he wanted some. Contrition operates better on bitter roast. About that username, I began, sliding my laptop between us. The comment thread glared up. Try washing frosting off your ego before preaching, Granny. Malcolm's face drained. Odessa! That was years ago. I forgot the account even existed. I arched a brow, but you remembered long enough to log in and heckle, apparently. He opened his mouth, closed it, studied the laminate grain as though salvation hid in its stripes. Silence thickened until the refrigerator hummed like a jury deliberating. Across the hall, Dawn coaxed her toddler with cereal while Riley scrolled headlines. The Herald article had gone regional, reshared by a Nashville station. Tweets of Jura Lantern Lady flickered like fireflies. Public sympathy was bright, yet fickle. One careless troll post from the perpetrator himself could flip the narrative faster than a spatula under sponge cake. I shoved a yellow legal pad toward Malcolm. List every online alias you've used. We're scrubbing the stench before it fouls the garden. He bristled, then sighed, writing, Sugar King 73, Ace of Pies, Dad bod jokes. Dawn leaned over, eyes wide. Dad, seriously? Malcolm winced. Humility, it seems, tastes like pen ink and regret. Next, we opened each account, posting a single pinned apology. I was the man who humiliated my wife. I'm learning to honor instead of mock. Riley hit publish, his fingers shaking only a little. The twins saw digital accountability bloom in real time. Likes, surprised emojis, a few forgiveness memes, small sprout but alive. Lunch hour brought unexpected company. Pastor Holmes, Gladys, and Mr. Perry filed in carrying folders. We're launching the Lantern League, Pastor announced, eyes shining behind bifocals. Workshops on respectful humor, elder dignity, cyber kindness. Mr. Perry spread a budget sheet. Gladys produced a pledge list already brimming with names. They wanted Malcolm on the inaugural panel, confessing to educate. He swallowed, glancing at me. I nodded once. This was his watering can. Throughout the afternoon, Malcolm rehearsed his talk, refining phrases, smothering shame with sugar, turning jokes into jousts, while I pieced together workshop materials, scripture on speech, psychology blurbs about humiliation scars, even comedic guidelines borrowed from a stand-up ethics forum Jasper found. Dawn designed the logo, a lantern whose flame formed a shield. Riley called the fellowship hall to reserve Thursday evenings. Yet under the industry, I felt another thread tugging. Why had Malcolm's first instinct been to lash out anonymously? What fear nested that deep? After dinner, neighbors delivered casseroles like peace offerings. I found him on the porch, twilight bruising the sky. I sat beside him, cane across my knees. "Tell me what scared you at that party," I said. He stared at fireflies blinking above azaleas. "Everyone joked about my weight, my age. I felt small." A shaky laugh. "I made you smaller so I'd feel big." The truth slid out, sour and fragile. I covered his hand. "You're never bigger than when you lift someone. Remember that." He nodded, breathing easier. "I want to rebuild." I tapped the logo on Dawn's flyer. "Then light your lantern and start." Wednesday morning, the Herald published a follow-up. From frosting fiasco to Lantern League, community turns humiliation into healing. Comments overflowed with survivors of public shaming. One wrote, "My husband dumped wine on me at our anniversary dinner. How do I find my voice?" I responded, "Join our Thursday stream. You see how one voice sparks many." The twins scheduled the first Zoom, but redemption rarely walks uncluttered paths. At noon, Laverne called. Odessa, a gossip blog, dug up Malcolm's archived poker videos, him mocking church ladies for baking calories they can't outrun. It's about to drop. I felt the old bruise pulse. Malcolm, overhearing, blanched. I forgot those existed. I inhaled slowly. Then we addressed them before the blog can spin. He recorded a mea culpa clip, raw and trembly, which we pinned across every platform, linking to Lantern League registration. Transparency, the only antidote to lurking rot, spread faster than scandal. By sunset, workshop signups topped 300. Storm clouds gathered over Memphis, thunder mumbling like gossip, but lanterns clicked on along Willow Street, neighbors honoring the movement. Dawn's toddler squealed beneath their glow, chasing raindrops. Malcolm stepped beside me, umbrella poised but untouched. "Let it rain," I said. We stood bareheaded, feeling heaven wash, the last smears of buttercream from our story. Inside, my gratitude journal waited. I added new lines. Troll unmasked, troll disarmed, community choosing light again, husband. Learning humility is a habit, not an event. Yet another entry burned onto the page. Lantern League launched tomorrow. Will trolls swarm the live stream? Jasper had coded comment filters, but battlefields shift quickly online. We would need every lantern burning bright. Thursday dusk draped the fellowship hall in amber streaks just as Jasper's countdown ticker hit 60 seconds. Folding chairs spilled into the aisle, laptops glowed on every lap, and the Lantern League logo, lantern shield ablaze, floated on the big screen above the pulpit. We'd planned for 30 in-person attendees, nearly 200 packed the room, plus 1,200 waiting in the live stream lobby. I stood stage left, cane steady, listening to the soft thrum of anticipation. Malcolm paced beside me, index cards trembling like moth wings, but his blue tie, now embroidered with the lantern emblem, held firm. "Remember," I whispered, adjusting his lapel, "truth first, humor second, never cruelty." He nodded, throat bobbing. Dawn and Riley manned the tech table, every chat message scrolled under Riley's watchful eye. Pastor Holmes led a quiet prayer, and Jasper's digital countdown hit 0. Lights dropped, cameras snapped live, comments poured in like a storm-swollen creek. Malcolm stepped to the lectern, exhaling into the lav mic. "Good evening, light bearers," he began, voice tight but clear. "A month ago I used humor as a weapon. Tonight I'd like to show how humor can also heal." He launched into a carefully balanced routine, poking fun at his own dad bod, recounting the frosting fiasco, then pivoting to actionable tips. Pause before punchline, check for consent, ask if the joke punches down. The audience laughed where invited, hummed approval when truths landed. I felt my shoulders ease. The seed he planted Saturday had sprouted green. Halfway through, Jasper flashed the cue. Q&A time, both hall microphones and live stream callers. The first few questions were gentle. An elderly lady asked how to correct a friend without shaming them. A teenager wondered how to joke online without trolling. Malcolm answered thoughtfully, citing proverbs and stand-up ethics in equal measure. Confidence warmed his tone, laughter grew genuine. Then Riley stiffened at his laptop, chat. Floodgate bursting with identical messages. Sugar still king, granny grifter caught. Show us the frosting gif. A new caller icon flashed. Sweet truth? My gut nodded. Trolls had found the feed. Riley's finger hovered over the mute, but I shook my head. Let the light expose, I mouthed. The caller came through audio only. Voice disguised by cheap software. Warbling. Taunting. Lantern League, huh? More like Loser League. Malcolm, tell them about your real jokes. The ones roasting church widows for their saggy casseroles. Laughter. Malicious. Tinny, crackled through the speakers. Gasps rustled the audience. Dawn's toddler whimpered in the back row. For a heartbeat, I feared Malcolm would crumble. Instead, he gripped the lectern, shoulders squaring. Sweet truth, he said steady. I remember those videos. I was desperate for laughs and too blind to see I was breaking hearts. The widows you mocked. One of them's in the third row tonight. He pointed to Gladys, whose eyebrow shot up like a sentinel. The hall hushed. Gladys, I apologize again, and I promise every royalty from those videos is going to your quilting ministry. Promises, promises, the troll sneered. Malcolm inhaled. Tell you what, sweet truth. Drop the mask. Come here next Thursday. We'll put you on stage and you can feel what accountability tastes like. Jasper's code overlaid a countdown box onto the stream. Challenge issued. 7 days. Gasps turned to murmurs, murmurs to applause. I stepped forward, mic live. Lantern light shows paths for lost travelers, including trolls. You've been invited, friend. Come taste the light. It might cure your craving for shadows. The chat exploded. Challenge accepted? Lantern or loser. Bring the troll. Sweet truth disconnected without a word. Malcolm turned back to the crowd, voice soft now. Humor heals only when we risk being seen. I'm tired of hiding. He folded his cards, spoke from the heart. How shame builds walls, how laughter can break them if guided by empathy, not ego. Tears glinted in stage lights, his and mine. The livestream hearts fluttered like confetti. Donations for the quilting ministry spiked in the sidebar. When the closing hymn faded and cameras went dark, applause lingered, almost reverent. Dawn hugged her father first, Riley second. Jasper flashed a thumbs up, sweat-slick curls sticking to his forehead. Malcolm whispered, I thought I'd choke. I squeezed his hand. Truth clears airways better than menthol. Outside, Memphis night buzzed with cicadas and car horns. Lanterns glowed on porches up and down Willow, neighbors waving as participants spilled onto the street. Yet my mind raced toward next Thursday. Would the troll appear? Would anonymity surrender to accountability? Friends, keep your lanterns trimmed. Next, the fellowship hall doors swing wide, but it's not just one troll who walks in. It's a row of faces Malcolm once mocked, each carrying a story sharper than frosting shards. One of them holds the key to an even older secret, one that could either cement Malcolm's redemption or shatter it for good. Tap that bell because forgiveness isn't finished weaving its tapestry and the brightest thread is about to shine. Thursday circled back like a boomerang with a memory to settle. Rain drummed on the fellowship hall roof. Lantern logos projected onto slick pavement outside. Inside, chairs multiplied again. 300 in person, nearly 3,000 online. Jasper's Code pinned a bold timer on the live stream. Challenge deadline. 0:00 When the counter vanished and the room lights dimmed, every neck craned toward the rear doors. They opened on a hush. First through was no masked troll, but a silver-haired woman in a quilted coat. Behind her, two more ladies Malcolm had roasted in those long-ago poker videos. Then another row, and another. Widows, retirees, one deacon's wife leaning on a floral cane. 16 in all. At their center shuffled a thin man in a hoodie far too large, face buried beneath the brim of a ball cap that read Sugar King. Gasps rippled, phones lifted. Riley's chat exploded. He came! Sweet Truth unmasked. Sheriff Clegg, attending off duty, stepped forward to keep order, but I raised a hand. Light finds gentler paths than handcuffs. The women formed a semicircle before the stage. Sugar King removed his cap. He was younger than I expected. Not Malcolm's online alter ego after all, but a wiry 20-something with red eyes and trembling lips. "I'm Travis," he muttered into the floor. "My grandma's funeral money got burned on Whitmore's schemes. I watched Mr. Holloway's frosting video, and it felt safe to laugh at someone else's pain." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry." Malcolm descended the steps, blue tie swapped tonight for a simple white shirt. Rainwater smeared mud on Travis's sneakers. Humiliation already soaked him enough. "I'm Malcolm," he said gently. "I've been you." He turned to the widows. "And I'm sorry to y'all again, but apology without amends is just noise." He faced the crowd. "Tonight, every Lantern League dollar goes to start the Grandmother's Garden Fund, emergency grants for seniors scammed or shamed. I pledge the first 10,000. Murmurs surged. Shock, admiration, pockets unzipping for checkbooks. Travis stared, baffled. "Why help me?" Malcolm tipped the Lantern logo on his shirt. "Because someone helped me stand in the light." He gestured to me. A warmth spread through my chest, not of triumph, but of harvest. Seed-watered, sprouting fruit sweeter than any cake. Gladys stepped forward, quilted coat rustling. "Child," she told Travis, "you can plant lanterns, too. Come sew with our ministry. We stitch stories better than trolls." She took his arm. He let her. Jasper flashed donation figures on the projector, numbers rolling like slot machine reels. 5, then 15, then $28,000 pledged in 8 minutes. Livestream chat overflowed hearts. Even trolls lost interest in heckling, drowned by solidarity. I took the stage. These women once wore humiliation like heavy coats. Tonight they wear forgiveness. Everybody snap a mental picture. This is how we dress wounds. Cameras clicked. Rain eased. Thunder distant. Pastor Holmes closed with prayer, but before the benediction, Dawn raised her hand. "Mom." "Dad," she swallowed. "Riley and I donated Dad's old poker video royalties, $3,000 to the Garden Fund." Applause followed like sunrise after storm. Outside, lanterns shimmered across puddles, reflections multiplying light. Malcolm shook every widow's hand. Travis helped fold chairs. Donations tipped past 35,000 before we locked the doors. Yet as we drove home, lightning flickered on the horizon. Weather app flagged a severe storm watch. In the glow of dashboard LEDs, Malcolm spoke. "Odessa, there's one more person I need to face. My first wife, Janine. Those poker videos started when I mocked her weight. My breath hitched. I'd never met Janine. She moved to Atlanta after our divorce," he continued. "I heard her long before frosting. I have to make it right." I nodded slowly. Redemption's road doesn't dead end at Memphis. Thunder boomed. Malcolm gripped the wheel. Will you come? My answer was ready before he asked. Light travels best in pairs. Keep your lantern wicks trimmed. We head to Atlanta, where an old wound waits, a new storm brews, and the grandmother's garden fund gets its first rescue call, one that forces Malcolm to choose between public image and private sacrifice. Ring that bell. Dawn's last test is rolling in on thunder wheels. Atlanta greeted us with humid air that smelled of peaches and diesel, the sky bruised violet with the thunder front that had chased us down I-75 all night. Malcolm's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel as downtown skyscrapers rose like judgment. Somewhere amid those glass spires lived Janine Ward Henderson, the first woman he'd humiliated for a cheap laugh. We found her at the Ebenezer Hope Food Pantry, exactly where the shelter's website said she volunteered every Thursday. Janine's silver twists were pinned under a hairnet. Her floral blouse bore a grease stain shaped like a lopsided heart. She was stacking cans of black-eyed peas when we walked in, Pastor Holmes's referral letter trembling in Malcolm's hand. Janine? Malcolm's voice cracked like dry wood. She straightened, recognition flashing, then cooling into wary composure. Malcolm. Her gaze slid to me. You must be Odessa. I watched last week's lantern stream. Impressive. The compliment held no bitterness, but the air between ex-spouses vibrated like a tuning fork. Malcolm swallowed. I came to apologize for what my jokes cost you. The videos resurfaced. I'm donating the royalties and doubling them from my pension. He offered a cashier's check. Janine didn't reach for it. Money's bandages, not medicine, she said softly. Do you remember what I asked after you posted the first clip? Malcolm's shoulders sagged. You asked me to stop before the jokes stopped being jokes. Tears rimmed his eyes. I didn't listen. She nodded. But you're listening now. Then, to my surprise, Janine accepted the check. The pantry needs a new walk-in cooler. Come install shelves Saturday. We'll call it even. A cautious smile rose like dawn on both their faces. Just then, Dawn's ringtone shattered the peace. The Lantern League hotline was blinking red. She put the call on speaker. A frail voice quavered through static. My name is Mrs. Zephyrine Cole. I think someone's stealing my pension. They said if I talk, they'll shut off my heat. I saw your league on Facebook. Can you help? The address she gave was 3 bus stops south, Atlanta's Decatur district. Malcolm looked at Janine. We'll be back with those shelves. Janine grabbed a notepad, jotted her cell number. Call if you need backup. She squeezed my hand. Lanterns travel in caravans. Rain hammered the windshield as we barreled toward Decatur. Riley navigated from the back seat, Jasper live-streaming location tags to local volunteers. We pulled up to a sagging duplex where a utility truck idled suspiciously. A burly man in a neon vest stood at Mrs. Cole's door, clipboard raised, generator humming. Malcolm's face hardened. He recognized the uniform logo, Metro Senior Services, one of Whitmore's rebranded shells. Cane in hand, I marched to the porch. Excuse me, sir, may I see your service order? The man sneered. Emergency shut-off. She's in arrears. Malcolm flashed his Lantern League badge lanyard, printed on Dawn's 3D printer. Show the invoice. The imposter hesitated, then bolted. Riley tripped him. Jasper caught the generator's serial number on video. Inside, Mrs. Cole, petite, oxygen tube hissing, shook like a wet sparrow. Dawn wrapped her in a quilt. We found falsified bills on the kitchen table and a temporary guardianship form awaiting her trembling signature. Malcolm shredded it before her eyes. Ma'am, your heat stays on tonight. Within an hour, Janine arrived with the pantry van full of space heaters and soup. Local police, tipped by Sheriff Clegg, secured the imposter in cuffs. News crews caught the arrest. Lantern League donations spiked another 6,000. On the drive back to Memphis the next morning, Malcolm stared at the sunrise smearing tangerine across the clouds. "Janine forgave me," he whispered. I touched his arm. "That was her lantern," I said. "Now keep yours burning." Memphis welcomed us with cool October air and an inbox overflowing. Churches requesting lantern workshops, seniors reporting suspicious callers, a Nashville TV show begging an interview slot. Yet one email silenced the buzz. From the state attorney's office, Whitmore had accepted a plea that forfeited $20 million into a National Elder Restoration Fund and mandated a televised apology. Justice, at last, felt tangible. That evening, we gathered in Willow Street's freshly mowed common lot for the Grandmother's Garden Fund launch. Lanterns hung from fishing lines swaying like tiny moons. The widows from Malcolm's video rode. Tripped in on a church bus. Janine live-streamed from the pantry kitchen. Mrs. Cole, bundled in a new coat, sat front row clutching a battery-powered lantern Jasper had modified to project the fund's logo onto the grass. Pastor Holmes opened with prayer. Gladys's choir hummed, "This Little Light of Mine." When it ended, Malcolm took the stage. No tie, just a Lantern League t-shirt bearing every donor's name in fine print. He spoke briefly. "I once used frosting to silence a voice. Tonight I lend my voice to every elder still fighting silence." He raised a ceremonial garden spade painted gold. "Let's plant dignity." Riley and Dawn unveiled a raised bed plot seeded with marigolds, the first grandmother's garden, each bloom tagged with the name of someone rescued from fraud. Mrs. Cole placed the first marker, Zephyrine, heat restored. Applause rippled like wind through wheat. My turn. I stepped forward. Emerald dress swapped for overalls and gloves. "Laughter can till or trample," I told the crowd. "Thank you for choosing to till." I plunged the spade, turning soil rich and dark. Lantern light caught the blade, sending a flare skyward like a beacon. Somewhere a neighbor switched on their porch light in answer. Then another, and another, until all of Willow Street glowed. Choirs sang, kids chased fireflies, reporters filmed the spade's glint. Malcolm stood beside me, eyes moist but steady. "We started with cake," he murmured. "We're ending with bread." Indeed, Dawn passed baskets of homemade loaves, kneaded by every widow who'd once been mocked. Breaking bread, literal and figurative, bound us tighter than any apology alone. As moonlight crowned the marigolds, Jasper projected the Lantern League motto on the side of Malcolm's rebuilt workshop. "Light lives louder than laughter that wounds." Hashtags bloomed in a live stream chat. Lantern League, Grandmother's Garden. I opened my phone, typed the final gratitude entry. Janine's cooler funded. Mrs. Cole's heat secured. 20 million brighter tomorrows. I closed the journal. Looked at you through the screen one last time. "Friends from Memphis to Melbourne," I said. "If someone smears frosting on your dignity, don't just wipe it off. Bake a whole garden of lanterns and feed the world." And the lanterns kept on shining.